I remember when I first started making videos, I used to have like this motivation to produce some kind of video that would hopefully help somebody, if not a bunch of people, understand some perspective that maybe they hadn't thought about or couldn't really put all the pieces together to figure it out because maybe they didn't have the same experiences I had or never really thought about the perspectives. But over time, it just kind of mellowed out into this basic understanding of everybody being on their own time in their own way, and the concept of collectivity, unity. All of this was no different than how I explained in the last video, the idea of love wins, everything will be better if we all just come together, so on and so forth. And like I said in the last video, the comparisons between an individual's change and the idea of a collective change are really no different. They mirror each other. If an individual is not ready to change or evolve themselves, then they'll keep going through experiences until they are ready. Same with a collective. If they're not ready to evolve themselves, then they'll keep going through experiences until they're ready. And the individuals or the groups of people who are aware of this and have no second thoughts about taking advantage of that situation will continue to develop experiences that will maintain the latency of the time that it takes for those individuals and the collective masses to evolve themselves or to change, whatever it is. And this is what we're experiencing today. In the mind war, the biggest thing to control is time. Because in the controlling of the time, you can control the amount of time that individuals have to focus on breaking those time blocks and those distractive measures. People are getting dumber because there's no desire, there's no motivation to get smarter. There's no need for people to get smarter when they have a system that will provide for their every need. The breakdown of society is coming because people are starting to realize that this system was never designed for their benefit, for their well-being. It was designed to provide the wealth and resources for a select group of people at the expense of the collective masses. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. So the breakdown is coming from people starting to realize that pretty much everything that they've understood to be true is a lie. From the way they perceive this reality, to the leaders that they've followed for so long, to the belief systems that have come from those so-called leaders over time, to the breakdown of their religions, how they even perceive religion and reality overall, the breakdown of their food, how the system developed this idea of a food pyramid that was actually taught in schools. Now understanding that the food itself is designed to get you sick, to shorten your life term. The medicine itself is designed to not only get you sick, but maintain your sickness and disease for a profit. We were told we were going to war for the benefit of what? Of ideas. Ideas of people who never had our best interests in mind. Some information that was part of the influence of my 1-year vow of silence comes from Neely Fuller Jr.'s 9 major areas of activity. So these areas of activity that involve every angle of our reality in relation to mainstream society, the control grid overall, with a specific focus on the attack on the 9/10 of the individuals of the world by the 1/10 of the grouping of people who identify themselves as white, which is an illusion. It's designed to have an effect, the same reason why we were labeled black. The laziness of us not even addressing something as obvious as those terminologies is why some of the bigger things in society and individually are not changing. The majority of our enslavement is self-inflicted. One could argue that all of our idea of enslavement is self-inflicted. Our belief systems are the things that are holding these individuals over us. We believe we need certain things, and the system that provides those things holds it over our heads. And since our beliefs are stronger than our internal convictions that have come down from our ancestors, since we've been separated from that energy, we've been separated from that power, we have nowhere to ground ourselves. We have no foundations to build upon. We have no roots to grow. We have nowhere to start. So once I realized that, along with also realizing that people are only going to change where they're ready to change, the artificial grip that I had on the work that I'm doing in relation to what I thought it was doing for the rest of the world started to loosen up. And that's when I said, okay, well, let me challenge myself to go silent for an entire year. And in that space, in that time, I started to realize that the reasons leading up to me going silent, I started to confirm all of those things on a deeper level to the umpteenth degree. More and more, after a few weeks passed, after a few months passed, 6 months, 9 months, it changed me as a person. Now I had something to stand upon that wasn't given to me by some university system, wasn't achieved by completing some kind of post-educational program. This was a challenge that I presented to myself for something higher than any system that I could perceive at that time and even at this point right now. I was standing for something beyond even my own interpretation, to answer my own questions, to listen to other people, but not only that, to listen to myself, to quiet my own voice, the internal voice and the external voice, to turn a lot of these systems that we have running 24/7 that we don't even realize. Like I said, the idea of black and white is just some thing that we accept publicly. What are those things that we accept internally, personally, subconsciously, unconsciously, that we don't even realize? These systems that are running, these black and white systems, beyond race, dealing with power, time, reality. What are the things that we are told to believe in society that are real, that are fake? Doesn't even have to get into the esoteric, just the basic interpretations of everyday reality. Like the idea of never speaking about religion or politics with anybody. Where did that come from? What does that do to a people? This internal urge to always have to produce a space filler with small talk. Where did the idea of deep internal analysis of society through speaking on religion and politics, when did that get replaced with talking about the weather and sports teams and social media and celebrities? At what point did that become the norm? What effect does that have on us as a people? This is a part of that de-evolution program. And these belief systems are maintained by these talking heads out there that are paid to maintain this de-evolution program every day. Every moment of the day, there's uploads of some kind of angle, some kind of perspective to sell you something, beneficial for this system at the expense of your power grid, individual and beyond. And they sell this to you with shame, with guilt. A lot of it nowadays is veiled in comedy, because this desensitizes you. You have people like John Oliver and Trevor Noah who are talking about celebrities who didn't take the jab or feel a certain way about science, and their guilt and shame is founded in this idea of an evolved intelligence. The same foundation that the university sits on, the same foundation that the pharmaceutical industry sits on. These comedians who are selling you guilt and shame, forcing you into these life-changing decisions for a lot of people, it all comes from the same source. And a lot of this comes from our belief systems that have been tweaked. And like I said, relation to our separation from our ancestral interpretations of this reality, perspectives of medicine, modern medicine, the wording, the language, like I said in the last video. This is what keeps us in this space and maintains this de-evolution program. When did the idea of medicines that we have been understanding for centuries become alternative? At what point did our medicine become alternative and modern medicine become real medicine? Who made that decision? Beyond that, who agreed that that decision was valid? So the same way that our relationship with medicine has been flipped right under our own noses, reversed and sold back to us in this backwards format, every area of activity that we experience in modern society has been done the same way, down to the way that we identify ourselves. Like I said, black and white are illusions. They only matter in systems that we are kept from understanding. Maritime admiralty systems, mind control systems. So for people who are unaware of the works of Neely Fuller Jr. and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I would suggest checking out a lot of their information circling around the 9 areas of activity, or the 10th area that was added on later by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, which was health. The other 9 broken down by Neely Fuller Jr., starting with economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And like I said before, health. All of these systems are locked down and controlled by the same system that is affecting every other form of interaction that we have in society. Even with ourselves, the way we perceive ourselves, our relationship that we have with ourselves, the relationship that we have with family, the relationship we have with education, the relationship that we have with evolution. All of these are relationships that are at the core of the idea of our evolution. And like I said earlier, if we're getting dumber, if people are dumb and people are getting dumber, then it's on purpose. And it's up to the individual. It's not up to the society to change. If they're going to change, they're going to change for the worse, because the worse is what's profitable. They've been making money off of your stupidity for hundreds of years. Why would they change the game? The name of the game is to make you more dumb, more sick, more codependent. So they will mandate certain things to make you more sick. Mandate education that makes you psychologically and beyond sick. Mandate shots, jabs that make you biologically sick. In so many ways, mandate particular religions to make you spiritually sick. And like I said earlier, the mandating of the way you spend your time, the locking down of your time is one of the biggest controls out there because it locks down your ability to make any kind of change. There's no time between having to provide for your family and survive in this system. There's no time to think about this system, let alone make any moves in relation to this system. Especially when you have individuals who are out there making millions of dollars. Look at this Kyrie situation. Making millions of dollars, being shamed by people like Trevor Noah, sportscasters, other celebrities. Shamed for refusing a mandate, refusing something to be injected into his body for his own well-being, and for the most part having no support from his colleagues. This shit is cowardice. The entire NBA league is cowardice. The pilots of Southwest Airlines have bigger balls than anybody in the fucking NBA. These pilots are realizing that they are being forced to do something and are walking out. Because if one person gets fired, that person represents every other person that works with them. And they're standing together. You not only have this not at all happening in the NBA and the NFL, but you have people going against this individual who are being publicized, who are being put on the screen to make you believe in why he is wrong. This guilt and shame again. Then you have the worst of the worst, these Stephen A's out there who are just going to dance and dance and dance until they can't dance anymore for this system at the expense of everything that they are connected to outside of this system. Just garbage ass people. But like I said before, it's not a surprise. The system is designed this way. If you understand that these individuals, these groups of people have been working to lock down your economics from every angle, your education from every angle, your entertainment from every angle, your labor system from every angle, your law, your politics, your religion, your sex, your war, your healthcare systems, locked down from every angle. What hope do you have as an individual to say or do anything? Especially when most of your time is spent in survival mode, trying to make it. This is why individuals like Kyrie have to be attacked, because he represents power. Not saying he's some kind of leader. He represents the idea, the power to think differently. Sacrifice. Separating himself from the bullshit illusions that he is making every year, every month. Something like $380,000 per game. Who says no to that? That's a powerful statement to make. Something like that makes people think, what is my life really worth? You can't have that kind of thinking going on. So it must be shut down. It must be shamed. It must be guilted into oblivion. Ostracized. And like every other system out there, the reason why these NBA players and all these other celebrities won't step up and say anything is out of fear. They're afraid of losing what they get back from this system. Like I said before, it's not the people at the top who are the problem. It's not the people at the bottom who are the problem. It's the masses of people in the middle who are maintaining this space, maintaining this ignorance, because they do not want to let go of their creature comforts. They do not want to let go of the space that they have between them and the people on the bottom. The same way the people at the top don't want to let go of the space that they have over the people in the middle. So the people on the top and the people in the middle, they'll play dumb. They'll take a little hit here and there. They take a little jab in the arm. They'll lose a little bit of freedoms as long as it maintains the buffer that they have between them and the group below them. And where does this separation come from? It comes from the breakdown, the belief systems that we've been forced into generations upon generations, sold to you in the education system, in the labor systems, in your religious belief systems, in your personal belief systems, cultural belief systems. These cultural belief systems that have been manipulated by the system. These belief systems sold to you with shame and guilt. Treating the vaccine like they did back in the day when you left food on your plate. How dare you leave that food on your plate? It's kids in Africa that don't have that food. The arrogance. Other countries don't even have the vaccine, and you're refusing the vaccine? How dare you? You're ungrateful. This is how these assholes like Trevor Noah and John Oliver and mainstream celebrities, newscasters, this is how they sell it to you. They're the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst, trash. And you have people looking up to this trash. A friend of mine just asked me the other day about the idea of diamonds. Where did that come from? Somebody made it up. The same way they made up the power and the influence and the worth of a dollar bill. It's made up. The same way your belief systems of an individual is made up. The same way black and white was made up. Whiteness is nothing but a diamondated version of a lump of coal. And one is more valuable than the other. These people are more valuable than the other. Their belief systems are more valuable than the other. Their lives are more valuable than the other. Their systems are more valuable than the other. This is what the marketing team of the system of racism and white supremacy has promoted for hundreds of years. They've promoted that their systems are better than any other human system that has graced this earth. And if you go against it, you are less than human. Borderline animal. But like politics and religion, we can't have these discussions. It's uncomfortable for these individuals. So until we can talk about these systems of economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health, until we can talk about all of those systems at the same time, nothing's ever going to change. Individually and collectively. It's not a one thing that's wrong. All of these systems, all of these areas of activity have to be addressed. So like I said, these people in the middle are the most dangerous ones. The ones trying to sell you how to just get by, how to make money within this system, how to survive within this system. In the grander scheme of things, they're no different than the so-called elite who are developing systems for 10, 20, 30 years down the road to maintain the enslavement of masses of people. There's no difference. So they will censor this information. They will assassinate your leaders. They will shame and guilt the individuals who even stand up against their system in even the slightest form, attempting to make you believe that you don't even have the power over your own body. The power of the system is more powerful than your own body. Shaming and guilting you, saying that you're selfish, because you're making a decision about your own body at the expense of the rest of the world. How dare you? People's grandmothers and grandfathers are dying because you're selfish. What kind of psychotic ass fucking people are out there that are manipulating people like this? It's sick. And yes, people are getting dumber because they have nothing else. There's no way that you're going to be able to undo generations upon generations of mind control in one day and one idea, one perspective. It's going to take time. And like I said, if these individuals are not ready, then nothing's going to move. So if you are one of those people who have a desire to help people, to share information, to change this situation that we're all in right now, if I could share any advice with anybody in that space, I would say, let the system eat itself. Let the system implode. And hope for the best. There's no coming back. If there's anything to look forward to, it's the realization that there's no coming back from this. Take solace in realizing that before recent years, people were basically unaware of the sinister nature of this system and all of their beliefs, all of their hopes, all the ideas of going to another star system, going to another planet, the progress of Western civilization. People had a deep, deep rooted belief in that reality. And now it's gone. It's broken. The foundation of that is broken. Yes, it might still be standing. Yes, people are still building on top of it, but it's broken. Before now, those legs were not even cracked, because the idea of being cracked exists in the observation of the masses of people. And the observation has clearly come to a point to where people are starting to say, wait a second, and that's all you really need. For people to just stop and say, hey, something a little off about this. Something's a little off. Something's not right about this. I think we should start asking some questions. Once you open that book of starting to ask some questions, you can't close that book anymore. You might have the illusion of closing that book, jump back into a system, but ultimately, there's no closing that book. So now the only thing that they can sell you is distraction, is shame, is guilt. They can't sell you any more hope on a massive scale. Even fear has lost its value for the most part, because the belief in their word has lost its value for the most part. And that's the biggest crack in that foundation. Realizing that the belief in their word is for the most part disintegrated. So for those who were ahead of the game, who are realizing that there was nothing for this foundation to be sitting on 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago, do what you have to do to make it day by day. But if I could share anything with anybody, it's a deep breath of being able to let go. That avalanche is coming. It's starting to trickle. You can see those little cracks in that system on the top of that hill. And it's only a matter of time before it all comes crashing down. And when that happens, then we can make our move. Until then, this system's going to get worse. It's going to push harder. It's going to do anything it can to maintain its illusions. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to fall for those illusions. Who are going to go down swinging with that system, with that avalanche, with that implosion. And there's nothing that you can or should do about it. That decision is completely up to those individuals. And when the dust settles, we'll take it from there.